So, we have now reached the stage of the evening where we can turn to the politicians for their reaction to the first estimates and seat projection. Allow me now to welcome on stage then the leaders and representatives of the political groups of the European Parliament, who will give their short statements. They will join me on stage in reverse order of the size of their current group in this legislative term, from the smallest to the largest. Please note that we only have a few minutes for each statement, followed by 2 short questions from you. If you are asking a question, I would ask you to move to one of the microphones in the aisles near the stage. So let me start. If I could invite Mr. Mark Botenga, representing the left group, to come on stage.
Good evening, bonsoir. Je vais parler en français.
I'll be speaking in French, so for those who need interpreting, put your headphones on. First of all, thank you very much for being here on this very important evening. I think that in Belgium we've got a very good turnout, a slight increase in the rest of Europe, and that is an important thing to note. As for our own group, we'll note that we made good progress in some countries like Finland, thinking about Sweden, France, and I hope Belgium too. The forecasts look good for Italy too. We're quite positive about seeing a number of countries where we're moving forward. On the whole, we want to consolidate our presence here in the European Parliament. And I'm sure there'll be some questions about this. We've seen also progress for the far right, the hard right. They've increased a lot in some countries and in the Parliament as a whole. It's a consequence of the policies that have been pursued at the European level and national level by the traditional mainstream parties. We've been through austerity. I'm not just thinking about the last parliamentary term. And during those recent years, people have been getting frustrated. Mobility, education, public services, healthcare, and that creates anger. You can see that anger across all of Europe, but it's expressed in different political terms in each country. So it's important that we have a strong left group that is robust so that we can be the social opposition. The opposition to the rise of the extreme right. They have no solutions for Europe's workers. But right-wing policies have caused a disaster across Europe. Inequality within countries and among countries. And that's why it's so important that our group is there for the workers, for equality, for social issues, and for the climate transition, which must be fair. Of course, I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for that. Thank you, Mark. We can go now, give you the floor if people have any questions. See one here, please.
Oui, Teresa Kuchler, quotidien suédois, Svenska Dagbladet. Vous dites que vous allez faire la...
You said that you're going to be the best, strongest resistance against the hard and far right. I imagine you don't plan to vote with the far right or work with them. So how are you actually going to resist the far right? Thank you.
Mais je pense que ce qui est essentiel.
I think the important thing is to try and put an end to the breeding ground that's given rise to the far right. We have to present an alternative, a social turning point. We have to respond to people's anger. We can't just say to them, oh, people are angry, but they're wrong. We're going to explain to them why everything's in their interest. No, we need to respond seriously to this anger that's been building up for years now. If we don't do that, we're going to lose this battle. In the Parliament, we do need allies. But the battle will have to be won outside this Parliament, in the individual countries, on the ground, so that we could win back all of these people who are voting to express anger with the traditional parties. They want to turn around, but we need to show that they can break with the mainstream to the left.
Any further questions in the room for Mark? You have to come up to the microphone. Approach the microphones at the front if you have a question. We'll just take... It's there behind you.
Bonsoir, Andrea Valdembrini, Il Manifesto.
Good evening, I'm from the Manifesto in Italy. We're still waiting for the results from Italy, but those are going to be important results. In the left group, Italy is missing. They haven't been a member for some years now. So what do you think about the performance of the Green Left Alliance? And how can you build upon the contribution of the members of the left group to try and challenge the Italian right, who are set to have very good results? Well, honestly, I am pleased to see that there will be, or is likely to be, some Italian presence in our group, in line with the forecast we've got. They have been able to present a valid alternative, and that's very important for our group. We haven't had any Italians in the group in the last few years. We're seeing the return of an Italian left within our group. That's going to be fundamental. And to do exactly what you're saying, to try and fight against the right. If we want solutions to social problems, it's not the Italian hard right that's going to do it. You can see this already on pensions and other topics. So the Italian left and the parliamentarians they'll provide should provide a voice within our group and this parliament to have that voice heard.
All right. I think we can leave it there. Thanks for your time, and don't hesitate to reach out to me or my colleagues in the left if you need anything during the evening. Thanks to Mark as well.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
So the next group I would like to invite onto the stage is the European Conservatives and Reformists Group, Ms. Asita Kanko, Vice President of ECR.
Thanks a lot. I'm not going to bring this onto the stage, don't worry. Yeah, leave it there. Yeah. I'll keep it for...
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I would like to start by saying that when the true aspirations of citizens are ignored, when the change they need in society is not happening, and when nobody wants to acknowledge them, then it gives, unfortunately, more space to extreme movements. That's why we need to listen to the citizen. That's why I put a lot of hope in the upcoming Parliament. I would like to thank you all for being interested in the European Parliament. We don't have this opportunity every day. And I would like to thank you for being present tonight that late. What our hope is to have center-right policy in this Parliament to address key issues that really worry our citizens. What are these issues? Questions of defense, security, matters of migration policy, European values. These are all items that really are important for our citizens. So when they go to vote, they expect solutions. They expect us to find a way to actually understand them and solve real problems with concrete solutions. Unfortunately, many citizens are regularly disappointed. Today, we are waiting for the results. We don't have all the results yet in Italy, but also in Belgium. For example, we are waiting for the final results after 11 p.m. But we hope they will give us the opportunity to shape center-right policy and that ECR will be part of a majority in this parliament to address key issues that are important for our citizens. Thank you.
We can have two questions. I see Pietro from ANSA.
Good evening, Pietro Guassamacchia, ANSA News Agency. The first word by Ms. von der Leyen tonight is that her group is the bastion against the extreme right. Do you think dialogue with the EPP and von der Leyen is still possible for your group?
So just to rephrase it to make sure that I understood your question, you are asking if working with von der Leyen will be possible for my group. Okay, well, we still need to have election results at 11 p.m. That's one first fact. And second, we have worked very well the past 5 years, including with von der Leyen. So depending on the program, we will see. But I don't see anything did not prevent us in the past to do so.
Thank you very much. And I see Andy from the FT.
Yeah, hello. Andy Bounds from the Financial Times. Do you think that the ECR group could become the third force? Are you looking at any extra allies, such as Viktor Orban, to join your group and push you into third place and give you a bigger stake in the parliament? Thanks.
I think there is a clear point also to be made in this parliament. It's not always when you are very big that you are the most powerful. And as I've been shown in a lot of coalitions in different countries, in fact, ECR has demonstrated quality of work and power in this parliament, despite being not one of the biggest groups. So having talented members who actually work very hard. So when we look at what is going to happen after we have the results, the first priority, in my opinion, is not to become the biggest or bigger and bigger. It is to see how we can actually work as we are now and take into account the results of the elections. You know, it's important to take that into account because citizens have voted and we will see what kind of voice they want us to hear. And based on that, we will see how things will move on.
Thank you very much. I see more hands, but you are invited to come to our stand outside the hemicycle. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, Ms. Kanko. Thank you, Michael. Indeed,
Thank
there's
you
only
very much.
time for 2 questions per group leader. But do indeed, if you have other questions, and I'm sure you do, then go and find the group stands to the sides of the hemicycle. Thank you very much. I would now like to turn to Mr. Philippe Lambert, co-president of the Greens European Free Alliance.
Well, good evening, everyone. Shall I start already, or you want to introduce me? No, no need. Well, dear colleagues, 5 years ago, before the EU would go to the polls, many of you asked me this question. Truly, are the Greens still needed as a political force? Because so went the narrative. Every other political family has integrated climate in their programs. So that must be it for you guys. Well, 5 years on, the campaign provided a clear and definite answer to that question. Of all political families competing, only us, the Green CFA, made keeping our planet safe for humanity front and center. And we did that even against strong adverse winds in the public opinion, fanned by the far right, and I must say, by too many others too. And if you need any other proof of what I'm saying, look at the strategic agenda that the heads of states and government have drafted for the European Union for the next 5 years. Without a single Green around the table, the European Green Deal went missing. Well, tonight's result is certainly not a victory for the Greens. But you see, respecting the boundaries our planet is setting us is no hobby horse of ours. It is an imperative if we want humans to strive on Earth. It is an imperative if we want to give a future to all, and we have lost too much time already. So, here is my call to the Conservatives, the Social Democrats, and the Liberals. You may well have a majority between the three of you, but if you are looking for stability and for responsible policies in the next 5 years, embracing the various flavors of the far right cannot be an option for you. Despite our disappointing results tonight, we, the Greens, European Free Alliance, stand ready to take up our responsibilities. If we want our planet to remain inhabitable for human beings, the Green Deal must not just go on, it must expand. And if we want European societies to remain safe for everyone, more than ever, the democratic forces need to stick together. Thank you.
Many thanks, Philippe. We're going to take 2 questions, and I think we have Reuters in the back. Kate, please.
Well, I saw... Yeah.
Hi, thank you, Kate Abnett from Reuters. Do the projected election results mean the beginning of the end for the Green Deal? Is the next Parliament less likely to pass ambitious climate laws, or maybe even start rolling back some of the existing climate laws? Thank you.
Well, this was one of the major, if not the major issue that was at stake during this campaign. And indeed, the last few months of the previous terms demonstrated that indeed the majorities behind Green Deal legislation were becoming more shaky. Now, in my best dreams, I would want to attribute that to electoral fever. And I would hope that in the next terms, democratic forces will come to their senses and realize that indeed the European Green Deal is not only a must for Europe to do its part in saving humanity on this planet, but actually it is also a gigantic economic opportunity for Europe, and I would argue the only one that's left to us. Thank you.
Thanks, Philippe. We also have, I think, The Guardian. Jennifer Rankin.
Jennifer.
Oh, good evening. In 2019, you didn't vote for Ursula von der Leyen to become Commission President. Are you ready to vote for her now? You talked of taking up your responsibilities. Would you interpret that as a vote for Ursula von der Leyen? And what would you say to her to work with the Greens? How would you appeal to her to work with the Greens rather than the ECR?
Well, not sure I got the question entirely, but well, basically we're playing the ball, not the person. Not in this case, not the man. In other terms, what will be front and center for us will be the widening, the deepening of the European Green Deal and the strengthening of EU democracy. This is really what is front and center. And I would hope that indeed, if the Council presents Ursula von der Leyen for a second term, that this will be at the heart of what she wants to achieve. But again, we will need to see commitments in order for us to support. But then again, let me put it this way. We will never play scorched earth policy. In other terms, for the sake of sitting comfortably on the balcony, well, we will not just put the bar so high that it is unreachable, but the bar is set basically by nature. The bar is set by nature, and we will need to go above. And so I would hope that indeed we will find a majority to do that in the next 5 years.
Thank you. I think we're wrapping up. Thanks. Yep. We'll be available throughout the evening for more questions. Thank you.
Are we done?
Thank you very much, Mr. Lambert. Thank you, Simon. Yes, unfortunately, we only have time for 2 questions per group, as I mentioned. Please go and find the groups outside the chamber to ask them your questions if you didn't get the opportunity now. So now I turn to Ms. Iskra Mikhailova, the Vice President of the Renew Group.
Yes, am I? Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be together with you tonight. First of all, I would like, on behalf of Renew Group in the European Parliament, to thank to the European citizens for their activity and support for the European Parliament. All their votes are very important for us. I'd like to thank also to the parties from Renew family who created a great campaign and who delivered very important messages to the European citizens. And I would like to thank to our voters because with their support, Renew Europe is again the third political group in the European Parliament, third as a size, but also very important group in decision-making for the future European policy. So, the results from today's elections, the results from tonight, show that no pro-European majority will be possible in this House without Renew Group. We will be in the center of this majority. We will deliver our solutions, our program, and our expertise to the future work of the European Parliament. Despite of increase of the far-right political powers, we are the third group. And we still keep our values, and we insist that the European Parliament will continue working for the democracy in the United Europe, for the security of the European citizens, for the competitiveness of European industry, and for the rule of law, which is in the heart of Renew Europe group policy. And also, I would like to say that it is incredibly important to find the solutions to answer to the European citizens, because their expectations gave us very much, and they gave us the direction of development of our work for the next 5 years. Thank you.
Yeah, I see a few questions. Alice Hancock from Financial Times, please.
Hi, Alice Hancock, Financial Times. As you said, you could potentially be the third force in the European Parliament after the final result. What will your exact terms for backing Ursula von der Leyen for a third term be?
Well, what I can say is that tonight we celebrate and we appreciate the result of competitiveness of values. We do not speak about personalities. It is too early to talk about this, we think. In a very close future, in the second part of June, when our group will be constituted, the group will decide how to manage and how to work together with the pro-European majority.
And another last question, Yun Chi from Thomson Reuters, please.
Hi, Fu Yunqi from Reuters. How does President Macron's poll showing affect Renew Europe's agenda going forward? And in general, your losses, how is it going to affect Renew Europe's portfolio in the next Commission? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. It is between us, but first of all, I have to say the decision of the President of France is not under the discussion in Renew Group. This is the internal national decision of the President of France. And secondly, I have to say that we congratulate our colleagues from Renaissance and from the liberal parties from France, which are the second parties after the elections. And also, I have to mention that we have increase of the support for Renew Group in the different member states. For example, in Slovakia, we are the first political power. So, the diversity in Europe is the diversity of Europe. The national decisions are national decisions, but the success of Renew Group is success of Renew Group.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we don't have more time, but if you have any other question, we can answer to you in our stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mihailova. Clara. Next, we have Mr. Pedro Marques, Vice President of the Socialists and Democrats Group.
I go?
No.
Good evening, here in the room and online for the S&D press conference tonight. It's my pleasure to hand over to our S&D Vice President, Pedro Marques.
Thank you, Uta, and a good evening to all of you. Let me start by singling out the fact that we are here talking to hundreds of journalists from all over Europe. I want to refer to this because it is clear in a day of election like this one that celebrating the European democracy, it's also celebrating a European free press, and that's what I wanted to start. Now, celebrating democracy, hundreds of millions of Europeans went out to the polls, the biggest transnational election all over the world. We should celebrate indeed democracy when the citizens go out to vote, and we should thank the citizens that went out and went to vote today. But let us also remember and single out the risks for democracy that we stood in these elections and in this election process. This was a particularly challenging one for the democratic forces because of disinformation, because of violence, because of the attacks to democracy, because of the attacks to the rule of law in many countries. I want also to remember these facts. This being said, let's go to the results. Based on what we have up until now on results or projections, our group, the Progressives, the Social Democrats in Europe, we came out as the second biggest group in this European Parliament by far. We won in several countries, Malta, the Netherlands, Romania, Sweden. We had strong showings in many countries. Let me just, from what the numbers we have at this stage, in France, in Italy, in Spain. As I said, given all these threats to the democratic forces, I want to highlight the fact that we had a strong showing, we have a stable group, and we are by far the second biggest political family in this parliament. This shows that Nicola Schmid, our Spitzenkandidat, and us, the political family, the Socialists and Democrats, we have led a good campaign. The results of the Party of European Socialists, it's the endorsement also of our work here at the Parliament, the Socialists and the Democrats. We showed leadership, we showed concrete results. The results on the response to the COVID crisis, the Green Deal, the social dimension of this Europe of ours. These are concrete deliverables from this Parliament that also were concrete achievements that led us to these results today. As the second largest group in this future Parliament, we will enter the negotiations for the next term in a strong position that we will uphold towards the other groups. But of course, I want to congratulate Ursula von der Leyen, the EPP Spitzenkandidat, and EPP, of course, for their victory in these elections. They were the most voted of the groups, and this should be said clearly. And we, as you know, we respect the Spitzenkandidaten principle and the European Parliament's role going forward in the process of the formation of the institutions and its leaderships. The result of this election points out clearly to a pro-European democratic majority. We will be pivotal in using the strengths of our result to make sure that we get to this result, to this majority. And that is the challenge I want to highlight here. Where will the pro-European parties be when we start these negotiations? We can build a pro-European democratic majority, a pro-rule of law majority, and that's what we'll be fighting for in the weeks and months to come. We will work to shape the next mandate in line with, obviously, our democratic mandate that we got from the electorate, based on our manifesto, the rights of the workers, no pause on the Green Deal, investing in our economy, investing in affordable housing for the Europeans. And as I said, trying to build, making all possible to build a pro-European majority. It is not only in our hands, but it's certainly also in our hands, given the importance of our group. The continued support to Ukraine, the continued work for the rule of law in Europe, basic principles for this group, basic principles for this political family that we will continue to fight for now that this election is over. This is just the start of 5 more years for Europe. We want 5 more democratic years for Europe. No ambiguity regarding the far right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pedro. I would like to ask Elisa Brown from Politico.
Hi, Elisa Brown from Politico. So what do the socialists want from Ursula von der Leyen in exchange for supporting her as Commission President?
Well, regarding the future Commission President, the results of this election, as I said, I already congratulated Ursula von der Leyen and the EPP family for coming first in this election. As I said, we fully respect the Spitzenkandidat principle and process, and therefore we will take that in account in the process going forward now. For us, obviously, it's about building a program for the Commission that it's important. It's about the policies that will be built, and it's around that our political family, that our party, that its leadership will determine the conditions to support the possible candidate to the presidency of the Commission. But the second very important condition, of course, is no coalitions with the far right. It's for us no coalitions with ECR and ID, to make it very clear.
Thank you very much. I would now like to ask Laura Zornoza from EFE.
Hi, Pedro. Laura Zornoza from EFE. You've just said that you are willing to try and regroup the same majority that held during the last commission. I was wondering if that majority needs to be broader. Will you be asking the EPP to look to the Greens in order to build a stronger pro-European majority? Thank you.
Gracias, Laura. Thank you, Laura. Obviously, that's a very important question because, as I said, we want a pro-European, pro-democratic majority. So, obviously, we want that to be something that stands through the mandate, and that means that not just electing the Commission President, all the mandates in the Parliament at the beginning, but the policies that we want to implement. And yes, of course, progressive groups are important to us, and if we need to extend this coalition, it should be in the direction of the progressive groups, of the pro-European groups, and certainly not on the direction of the far right. That is absolutely clear for our political families, so you are right. If needed be, other groups should be called to the table, should be called to the negotiations, but democratic European groups. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Marques, Ute, thank you both very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, we are joined by Mr. Manfred Weber, Chairman of the Group of the European People's Party.
Good evening. Now the Manfred Weber, the chairman of the EPP group, has the floor. Chairman?
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for your interest. First of all, it's a great day because Europeans voted for their parliament, the second biggest democracy, work today, and that's good. That's good news. The European People's Party is again the biggest group in the European Parliament. We won the elections. We are among the democratic center parties, the only one who increased the numbers of seats, and that's why I want to thank, first of all European voters for their trust, for their support for the European People's Party and the national parties. You know, our lead candidate is Ursula von der Leyen, the acting Commission President. I want to thank her. She did a great campaign. We presented as EPP a program, voted in Bucharest. We presented a lead candidate, a convincing lead candidate for the next 5 years. That's why our idea as EPP was always to have a democratic process, to have a democratic Europe. And again, as EPP leader, as president, I'm happy about this approach. We are proud about how we delivered during this election campaign on European level. Now the question is, can we form reasonable majorities for the future of Europe? And my question goes first to the other two main political families in Europe. Next to us as Christian Democrats, the second big party are the Social Democrats, and the third biggest party are the Liberals on European level. I invite both of them to join our pro-European, pro-democratic alliance, where we are together creating the fundament for the next 5 years. That will happen in the Parliament. That also should happen on the Council side, where we have 13 prime ministers and head of states and government in the EPP team. And in both chambers, in both institutions, we are asking now for the support of the other parties to respect the outcome of the elections. Those who are speaking a lot about saving democracy in Europe are now invited also to respect democracy in Europe, and that means to respect the outcome of elections, that Ursula von der Leyen becomes the next Commission President, that everybody acknowledges this and also supports this outcome of this democratic vote. Our message is also towards those who want to destroy our Europe. I said it during the campaign several times. The European People's Party is among the founding fathers and mothers of today's European Union. With Schuman, de Gasperi, Adenauer, Kohl and others, we created today's Europe, and that's why all those who want to destroy our Europe are our enemies, and we will fight against them. We will not allow them to have any kind of influence on the European level. I promised 2 years ago, when I was elected as president of the European People's Party, on the Congress of my party, and in my capacity as president of the group, I promised that this time we will win seats, because for now 3 elections in a row, the European People's Party lost seats in 2009, in 2014, in 2019. Now in 2024, we have a good chance that we are increasing the numbers of seats in the European Parliament as political family. So the idea, the proposal from my side, to come back to a party-based approach of doing European future policies really delivered. The idea to have an enlargement of the EPP group, to invite further members to join our family, really brought now fruits, and also the clear idea to be clear on content. What do we promise on content? When it is about peace in Europe, when it is about economic growth, that also created now a good outcome for us. I and we as EPP will make sure that these content will be delivered in the next 5 years, will be implemented in European politics. So for us, good day today, and if you wish, I would be ready to answer some questions.
I have a question here from Enrique Cerveto, ABC.
Good evening, Mr. Weber. My question is about your invitation to the Social Democrats and Liberals to form a majority, and why did you not mention the Greens?
Well, for us as EPP, the starting point is a so-called platform. So we worked in the last 5 years on the base of EPP, Liberals and Socialists together to achieve important milestones for the development of Europe, the Green Deal, digitalization, a lot of issues. And that's also for this mandate now the starting point, that I invite Socialists and Liberals to confirm their readiness to work together. I see a lot of goodwill when I speak with colleagues individually, but concretely speaking, the next step is now that the Chancellor of Germany also confirms that he will present and propose Ursula von der Leyen as German candidate for the Commission. That's the first step. And then also that Emmanuel Macron is ready to confirm the support on the Council table, because that's the first institution to present the Commission President candidate. So we won the elections, and the only request in this moment of time is that the other big political families confirm that the winner can present then the Commission President of tomorrow. That's a starting point for today. We are today in the election day, election night. Allow me again to say that I'm happy that we won seats, that we are winning elections all over Europe. And now the offer goes to the three political families in Europe to work together and to achieve stability for Europe.
I have Kathleen Halmay there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Katalin Halmai, Hungarian Népszava. After 3 years, you have a good chance to have a relatively big Hungarian delegation in your group. This is the newly formed TISA party led by Péter Magyar. I wonder whether this party meets your demands, being pro-European, pro-Ukraine, and pro-rule of law. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a very specific question. You know, we have from a lot of countries all over Europe, individual parties and even individual members who are requesting to join the EPP family in the European Parliament. And that's great news for us. We are attractive. We are a group who is capable to involve the reasonable center-right people inside of the family. That helps us a lot to achieve results for the next 5 years. So that's why, again, the Hungarian case is one case among a broad variety of parties who wants to join. And on the concrete Hungarian question, I had a talk with Péter Magyar. We spoke already about the idea to join. First of all, seeing so many people going out in the street in Budapest and demonstrating for a European Hungary, and demonstrating also for a Hungary which is based on rule of law, fighting against corruption, is a great message. That's why I welcome very much their activities and giving the other side of Hungary, the other part of the Hungarian society, a clear voice. That is so much needed, and that's why in the next days we will continue our talks. The door for all those who are respecting our rules are open, and that also is the same for Péter Magyar and his movement.
Thank you very much. We don't have time for more because Mr. Weber has other compromises in live TV, but we will be back after in the corridor to answer more questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weber. Pedro, thank you. This now brings to an end the interventions by the political group leaders. Thank you very much.